Alright guys, we've got some pretty big Nintendo Switch news when going over different games, some stuff that could be happening with a remaster or remake, and what Digital Foundry has to say about a major Nintendo title. But before we get into anything, please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. And of course, drop a comment below, talk about what your favorite topic was once you get through the video, or what you're looking forward to the most when it comes to Nintendo Switch games or just content in general coming up. Now let's go ahead and get into this here, because there was a huge multiple listings for Bandai Namco Studios. Apparently they're developing a remaster / remake of a 3D action game. Wow, that's pretty big news when it comes down to it. So let's talk about these listings here. So some job listings came up recently for a planner of a 3D action game project contracted by Nintendo. Then another listing came up for a visual artist as well for the same Nintendo contracted 3D action game. And then the listing then clarified that it is a remaster / remake working on the HD remastering of 3D backgrounds. So there are a lot of guesses and speculation on what this could be. The top things that I saw on Reset Era, where this article came out first from, was I saw Metroid Prime, I saw Kid Icarus, and I saw Star Fox, and I think that F-Zero's on there as well. Any one of those could be it. Now, Bandai Namco has a very long and storied history of working with Nintendo on various different games, especially if you take into account the Nintendo Switch. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, that's Bandai Namco. Also, new Pokemon Snap, that's also Bandai Namco. You also have Pokken Tournament, that's Bandai Namco as well. So they have a good working relationship, and they have a lot of talented developers that could take a classic Nintendo IP or a previous game and remaster it in HD. Now they're talking about remaster remake working on HD remastering of 3D backgrounds. So that kind of, or maybe eliminates some of the Wii U games. I thought maybe Star Fox could be the game. So the Star Fox game from the Wii U, they're putting that over, but that game's already in HD, already in like 1080p or whatever it's running at, or 720p, I'm not really sure, but that's already there. So why would you need to do HD remastering of 3D backgrounds when it's already in HD? You would just have to up the resolution, right? So it's probably not the most recent Star Fox game. Now, is it, what else then? What other Star Fox is it? Is it Star Fox Assault? Right? And I think that Bandai Namco did work on Star Fox Assault back in the day, so maybe they are actually doing that. Maybe they're taking that game that they originally worked on, or maybe that's something that Nintendo wants them to work on and remaster Star Fox Assault for the Nintendo Switch, or remake it for the Switch. I think that would be a phenomenal option. And if you add in multiplayer, maybe put in some new modes, some different things, that could be a great release on the Nintendo Switch, as pretty much most people didn't play Star Fox Assault. That's one of the worst selling main Star Fox games, is Star Fox Assault on the GameCube. We're not counting some of the stuff like Star Fox Adventures or some of the other things that have came out from the Star Fox universe, but just like the actual real mainline games. So I think that Star Fox Assault would be great. Obviously you have something like F-Zero GX, that could be a very good candidate for this type of game, bringing that over from the GameCube. People have talked about Kid Icarus Uprising, which that one, it could happen. I think that Kid Icarus Uprising is possible. However, the problem with Kid Icarus Uprising is that Kid Icarus Uprising is a Nintendo 3DS game. So that's going to take a lot more money, time, and effort than probably some of these GameCube games out there, just because 3DS is just a bit more difficult from what I understand, the dual screen aspects, some of the touch stuff, some of the things that they did in there. So maybe that might not come over, but I think that it's definitely possible. I'm not saying that it's not compared to every other game here. We've seen DS or 3DS games come over to Nintendo Switch before, converted in ways, so it's not impossible. But I'm guessing that maybe it's Star Fox Assault. That's what I would guess, and they're remaking that game just to give us something from the Star Fox universe. We need that. We need Star Fox, we need F-Zero, one of those two. I personally like Star Fox a bit more. I think that Star Fox is a bit more dynamic than just a racing game or like F-Zero. But once again, that's no knock against F-Zero. It's a very unique and good racing game, but I think that Star Fox just offers a lot when it comes to what you could do with the Nintendo Switch and HD Rumble and online dogfights. There's not a lot of games on the Switch that's like Star Fox, and if you played Star Link, that game has the Star Fox characters in there, and it's really good, but it's not better than Star Fox. So if they brought over Star Fox to Nintendo Switch, that would be just a home run. But if it was F-Zero GX, or if it was something else, I think I'd be okay with that, because we all know that Nintendo could definitely dip into the well of their previous games and bring something back. So any game that we get that's kind of remade or made into a better way, I'm all for. I'm more in tune with stuff like that than just the same game, just the same GameCube game or the same game that we already got beforehand, like Virtual Console. That stuff, I'm like, okay, well, I already own that, but if you remaster, remake it, add content to it, I like that so much more. So that's what I'm hoping that's coming to fruition with this thing here, which I think it is based off of these listings. What are your thoughts when it comes to what Bandai Namco could be doing on the Nintendo Switch contracted from Nintendo? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, now moving on to the next topic here, guys. We've got a huge shock when it comes to Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes. The mysterious mercenary trailer has emerged. Nintendo dropped this out of nowhere, and it dropped the bombshell. Byleth is actually the antagonist or the villain, quote unquote, in the game. Is this true? Well, let's talk about it here. So, align with a leader to build and command an army in 1 versus 1,000 style battles. Publisher Nintendo and developer Omega Force have released a new trailer for Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes titled Mysterious Mercenary. The overview of the game is as follows. Step into the shoes of Shez as they meet Edelgard, Dimitri, Claude, and other Fire Emblem Three Houses characters as you fight for the future of Fodlan. Align with a leader to build and command an army in 1 versus 1,000 style battles and deep strategy. I like that, deep strategy. The house you choose will bring you through one of 3 compelling stories, each with a different outcome. So there's definitely replay value there and following in the same footsteps of Fire Emblem Three Houses. Now, Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes is due out for the Nintendo Switch on June 24th, and this trailer is interesting because they kind of pulled the okie doke on us. When we first saw this character, Shez, we did not know the name of the character, but when we saw the character on the box art or the main thing, we thought, okay, well, we're Byleth fighting against this character. This is the villain in the game, but no, there's more to it. It seems like Byleth is that, but it does seem like there's other things what motivates Byleth to do what they are doing. So it's very mysterious. It's very appropriately named when it comes down to it, because we just don't know what the motivations are for Byleth. And there's even a section at the end where you pick between the two, and maybe there's a decision there as well. So maybe you play through both of the different stories, but then there's also branching stories between the 3 different houses, and you can get certain characters based on where you go to with different endings on each one. I love this setup for this alternate story. Now, we don't know exactly where or how it fits in with the Fire Emblem Three Houses narrative and everything, but what I know is that it's an alternate story, and it seems like they're putting everything into this to be more than what they did with Fire Emblem Warriors, which was just a made-up story where all the people just kind of came together. This is more grounded within the Fire Emblem Three Houses type of atmosphere, and it's not going to have a bunch of characters coming from portals or dimensions, but it's going to be within itself and have a unique story built off of the story and the characters that we know of with Fire Emblem Three Houses. So I like that a lot more. Very similar to Age of Calamity. Maybe it's not canon per se, because this might not be. We have to wait and see what Nintendo has to say on it, but it's built within it, and it's not just on a random assortment of various different characters that somehow all end up here and then they're fighting, right? So I do like these type of Warriors games, because the other types of Warriors games I don't like as much. Like Age of Calamity is my favorite Warriors game of all time, and I think this is probably gonna be my second favorite because it's themed and it's within itself and it has a really in-depth story, and it looks like they're gonna take a lot of the stuff that we love about Fire Emblem Three Houses, like the strategy and the teaming up and all that different stuff, and kind of put it in this game as well. So I love that, because there was some of the stuff from Fire Emblem Warriors, which they did do that kind of took from the regular Fire Emblem game. So it looks like they're even taking that to the next step here with Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes. So I am excited for this. June 24th, we've got some big games coming out. Mario Strikers is also coming out early June, late June. We got this game as well, so it should be a lot of fun. But what are your thoughts when it comes to Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes Mysterious Mercenary trailer, and what's going on? What are some of the little details and secrets that you found in the trailer that you want to let me know about? I will be looking. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the final topic here, guys. We've got a very interesting discussion that happened recently on Digital Foundry when it comes to the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Now, they talked about this on their weekly Digital Foundry Direct weekly number 55. They discussed PS Plus versus Game Pass. They discussed the RTX 3090 Ti and also the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, at the 22:38 mark, the Digital Foundry team discusses the delay of the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, but more important, the gameplay footage that accompanied the announcement. According to the expert eyes at Digital Foundry, there are a number of things going on in the trailer that seem too far out of the realm of possibility for the Nintendo Switch. In particular, some scene transitions featuring anti-aliasing and volumetric clouds showcase elements that would push the current Switch too far. The team discusses how these snippets of gameplay may have been rendered out specifically for trailer purposes and aren't running on native Switch hardware. We've certainly seen examples of Nintendo gameplay footage that looks considerably better in early trailers and then gets pared down for the game's final release. It actually happened with one of the original Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild trailers, which showcased a much greater draw distance than what's on display in the final release. Now, also, just to be clear here, Go Nintendo writes, the Digital Foundry team doesn't think that the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 would skip the regular Switch in favor for a Switch 2. They're more leaning on towards a Switch/Switch Pro difference or situation here. The game would come out on both systems, but with some bells and whistles would only appear on the Switch Pro version. And once again, the Switch Pro is rumored. There is no actual announcement of a Switch Pro. There is no confirmation of that. They are speculating on that, so we're just 100% clear here. And I have a couple things that I want to say. One, I think that nobody really has used the Switch to its utmost, I would say, best at this point. I think that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is one of those games that was a Wii U game, right? The visual look of the game isn't much different. So maybe it was pared down from what they originally had because it's essentially a Wii U game and not a Switch game. And if they developed the game with all their money, time, and effort into making the game specifically for the Nintendo Switch and having it look as good as possible, I think that maybe some of these things would be included, that it could look as good as it does. I'm not of the opinion that it has to be Switch 2. And on top of that, we've seen stuff like the super resolution for the game Nintendo Switch Sports that looks extremely good. Also, I think there was that Life is Strange game that also uses it too. So it's not like we haven't seen some other bells and whistles and little tweaks and things that are in there, but I think that most developers just make the game and don't use everything that the Switch has to offer because of time and money. And I think that that's Nintendo included. They often don't necessarily use everything the Switch can do, in my opinion at least, because I think that the Switch is definitely stronger than the Wii U, so therefore you should be able to get something that looks better by a good amount on the Nintendo Switch over the Wii U. And Breath of the Wild already looks incredible on the Wii U and looks good on the Switch. So now that they're developing and taking their time to make this game on Switch only, I think that we could get something that looks as good as what we saw in that trailer, just as long as they're willing to take the time, which it's been that, right? They've been developing this game for years, the time and effort and money to get that done. Now, obviously, Digital Foundry knows a lot about tech. They know more than I know about it. I'm not saying that they are wrong. I mean, we could get a Switch Pro. That could be something that comes out with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, and that's something that you can get and it can make it look better. So I am not discrediting Digital Foundry and what they're saying. It could be very possible. I'm just kind of giving an alternate take on it in terms of things as well, just so you guys know. we might have to prepare for disappointment. I don't want to get people hyped up for Switch Pro again and all that, and then it ends up not being there or whatever, because we saw that saga happen last year, and I was making sure to tell people, hey, wait a minute, there might not be anything there. You never know. Let's just wait and see. So I think that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. But interesting analysis nonetheless from Digital Foundry. So what are your thoughts on all the different topics that we discussed here today, guys, from Bandai Namco, Fire Emblem Warriors, and also Digital Foundry, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.